Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Stephen Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the twitch.tv/Steve and Larson, where this Sunday, the party of the Superb Owl will be going down. That's right. We'll be having our little Super Bowl live stream. It's just going to be our heads there. We're not actually going to show the Super Bowl. I believe that can be found on CBS or
I don't
Fox.
remember what channel it's on.
Whatever channel it's on, you guys can figure it out. And we'll be watching along, just probably eating some pizza and drinking some beer and having a good old time. Miguel says WNBC.
Oh, WNBC.
WNBC. So be sure to check that out. That should be some fun. And then, good stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about last night's fairly kind of enjoyable Monday Night Raw, all things considered, on Sci-Fi Channel. But first, we might have a little bit of more info here about potentially an upcoming AEW signee or two. First, we're going to talk about one Jeff Hardy, of course. What's going on with him?
So during the latest House Hardy Twitch stream, Matt Hardy confirmed that his brother Jeff likely won't be the surprise debut on this Wednesday's Dynamite. That's what he had to say. There is kind of a bit of a caveat here, but I didn't actually watch the clip, so it might very well be tongue-in-cheek. Anyways, these transcripts are from Fightful. Quote, I don't think he's the guy coming in this Wednesday in AEW against Isaiah Cassidy, although who knows, Tony Khan, Papa Khan has a lot of money. Maybe he bought out of his contract and he's coming in early. Who knows? The final of the 90 days was supposed to be on March 9th. March 10th, he's a free agent. Mm-hmm. Matt also revealed that WWE offered Jeff a solo WWE Hall of Fame induction when trying to woo him back to the company after they released him. These transcripted from Wrestling Inc. Quote, Jeff asked, so you want to induct me into the Hall of Fame? And he said, well, let me ask you. I know you guys have spoken with AEW. Is this going to be the Hardy Boys? Is this myself and my brother Matt? And they go, oh, no. We can't get Matt. He's under contract at AEW. You know, it would just be you. And Jeff said, well, that's a hard no. He definitely stood up for the team of the Hardy Boys.
Oh, I like that. That's good. They're so silly sometimes.
They are.
Because here's the thing. If WWE asked, I would just imagine that if WWE asked AEW, they'd probably say, yeah,
it'd be a no-brainer for Tony Khan to say yes to that. You're getting one of your wrestlers in the WWE Hall of Fame. That's great for AEW.
Yeah,
of course he'd say yes to that.
But is this no? He's under contract at AEW. Is that an excuse that they're using, or is he supposed to take this as, no, we don't want to give shine to your brother? Are they explicitly saying that, or is that just the assumption?
I just feel like it's an excuse, even though it's a really bad one, considering Chris Jericho was under AEW contract when he was on the Broken Skull sessions. You know,
yeah,
it's a bad excuse. I mean, Hardy Boys, they deserve to be in as a team. They totally do.
Oh, for sure.
Jeff Hardy deserves to be in as a solo act. You can make the case that Matt Hardy deserves to be in as a solo act.
I think all three of those things are absolutely true. I think, man, Jeff as a solo act on a slow year could be a headliner. Mm-hmm. I think on like a slow year, maybe. Like I think Batista's probably a definite headliner.
Yeah, he's already in.
Did he actually do all that stuff?
He was gonna,
I thought that was the weird thing that didn't happen.
Yeah, maybe it didn't.
He was announced and then COVID and then he pulled out. I think that's how that went down.
That could have been it. He wanted to wait to do it until they actually had the proper thing, right?
I think so.
I don't know if they did it last year or not.
Anyways, we're completely off topic. All three as a team, solo they're all three Hall of Fame worthy. The Hardy Boys, I mean, I know they don't do tag teams as headliners necessarily, I don't think.
Oh, they would
be.
Make an exception for the Hardy Boys.
Them, I think Edge and Christian as a tag team specifically would all, and maybe even the Dudleys.
And then down the line, the New Day would definitely be.
Headliners.
Yeah, they'd be headlined. So yeah, confirmed. Batista last year said,
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much stock do you take in Matt Hardy is one of those guys kind of like Jericho where he almost enjoys misdirection.
It's a weird thing with him because I feel like he, in a lot of respects, Matt seems like a very open book. Like he seems very transparent.
Yeah.
But
he loves talking about this stuff.
At the same time, he knows how to play the promotional game.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't watch the clip. I'm sure. I'm not sure, but I'm speculating. It was a bit of a throwaway thing. Oh, maybe Tony Khan bought out the remainder of his contract, and he's free to be available, just to kind of stoke the talk that's going on online about who's going to show up Wednesday. Because a lot of people mentioned Jeff Hardy.
Well, I mean, man. The fact that he would even throw that out there. What if it's misdirection on one thing but not the other? What if it would be a Mustafa Ali and Tony Khan did in fact pay out the rest of his contract? I don't know.
Let's get to this because Tony Khan recently spoke with Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso about this debut on Wednesday on Dynamite. And this is what Tony Khan had to say about it. Quote, "It's a huge signing for us. I've created some debate about what it means to open the forbidden door, and that's what we are going to do on the show. The fans are going to get a great night of wrestling and hope everyone is surprised and comes back for the matches this sets up. It's going to be a big reveal on Dynamite. It sets up this week's Rampage and puts a lot of irons in our fire. We have created an environment in AEW where people routinely expect great matches, and we have the wrestlers to live up to those high expectations."
I'm trying to look for any hidden. So it sets up this week's what was supposed to be going down on Rampage?
Let me look.
Hook versus QT Marshall.
No, it's student. Yes.
Big students.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I spoke too soon. Yes. QT student. I thought you were going to say QT Marshall.
No, he already. That's probably going to be in the end, but he already took that sucker down.
Yeah.
And stepped over him. Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of it. Here's one thing that I'm kind of confident it won't be, and I've seen this a lot, is people saying, oh, it's going to be Cody and it's a swerve.
Yeah.
Listen, man, this ain't TNA circa 2011 or whenever they would do silly shit like that, where it's like, oh, no, it's stupid.
So as far as the Keith Lee talk, Mia Yim just posted a picture of herself and Keith Lee, and it looks like they're on their honeymoon.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting someplace. There's, I would imagine, an ocean behind them, some sort of body of water. They got a couple drinks. It looks like they're on a beach or something.
Green screen, man. You know these Zoom backgrounds. Let's see if I could do it here.
You're gonna be in some tropical locale.
How do I do that? Choose virtual background. What do I got here? Oh, look at this.
Let's see it.
Look at that. Ah!
Oh gosh, get that off there.
I was being attacked by the girl.
Oh my gosh.
That was horrifying.
No. So we'll see. Jimmy Thomas says Shane Strickland, I don't believe his no compete is up till next week because he was in the group that was released on November 17th.
Yeah.
And people are saying it could be somewhere in Florida. Entirely possible.
You know what the saddest thing is? Oh man, no. I think this is going to be really cool. Whatever it is, I don't think it's going to be like some low card guy or gal or whatever. I think it's going to be a pretty cool thing because there's plenty of great names out there.
Oh yeah.
That are available that wouldn't be Jerome B. No, I was gonna say I got Bama. This is like it's kind of like a Ripley's Believe It or Not type book. It's like ultimate weird but true things. And there was one page, I forgot what it was. It was talking about bacteria, and there was like a microscopic, it looked like a cell, or it looked like a bacteria. Bama looked at it and said, "Oh no, Dad, it's COVID," because she's seen those, the pictures of COVID out there.
Yeah.
Oh man, our poor children. They're growing up like this.
I know.
Oh man. Anyways, so yeah, I think it's going to be cool, man. I think it's going to be a pretty big deal. Let's talk about Raw.
Sure.
I thought maybe the move to Sci-Fi, maybe they should keep it on Sci-Fi because I thought that it was pretty interesting. Man, it's pretty simple. You and I say this all the time. When you keep the talking to a minimum, you emphasize wrestling and kind of more importantly than both those things, whatever you do should have some amount of stakes to them. Like, for example, you have a rematch with Kevin Owens and Austin Theory. Okay, why are you doing a rematch? This is why. Because Kevin Owens thinks that if he can beat Austin Theory this time, he'll get into the Elimination Chamber. And they say, no, that's not how it works. And he's like, whoa, wait a second. Come on, man. Like, I need to be in WrestleMania. And Sony's like, maybe you're not going to be. So you're using whatever you're doing to motivate story going forward. That's how everything, if it's a talking segment or not, that's how everything should work. And I feel like they did quite a bit of that on Raw last night.
Yeah, they did a lot more than they have in episodes past. It seemed like over the last 3 weeks, they've actually, maybe someone there is listening to the show, focusing more on actually developing stories.
Yeah.
And giving us longer matches. I don't know what they're doing on SmackDown. It seems like the average length of a match on SmackDown has gone down by maybe like 50%. I don't know what the deal is.
Have you noticed we're in the middle of the transition. Man, this has been ever since for as long as we've been doing this.
Oh yeah.
It's like Raw and SmackDown can never just be good together. Or even bad together. There's always like one that is better than the other, and then there's the tides of change. And now we're in the middle of that, where it's like, oh, wait a second. No, Raw is seemingly on a more regular basis now, much better than SmackDown, which SmackDown just feels emptier these days.
It really does. And which seems interesting because I feel like they're trying to focus more on characters on SmackDown.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just the way they're doing it, it does make it feel emptier, like nothing's happening. But if you're focusing more on developing character, advancing storyline, obviously not in the ring, you think, okay, this is jam-packed full of stuff.
Yeah.
But just nothing feels really of consequence on there. Whereas on Raw now, they're focusing on, I mean, it helps that they got some really great personalities with good chemistry on Raw. You got RK Bro, you got American Alpha, you got Seth and Kevin Owens. I could go on and on, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And if you lean onto those immensely talented people and their chemistry to push your show, Lashley and MVP as well.
Yeah,
you know, it's gonna make the show enjoyable. Now Raw isn't necessarily must watch still. Yeah, a lot of the stuff on here, while more important, still doesn't feel immensely important. Like if you miss an episode, you're completely out of the loop. It's not to that extent yet. But it's a far more enjoyable 3 hours than it was several months ago.
I don't think either of us is regretting our decision to move our reviews till the next day.
No.
And it would take Raw like going down to 2 hours and just being like completely must-see to do that.
Yes.
Let's talk about a couple things here, a couple revelations. Number one, given what happened in the main event scene, it seems kind of obvious. We were just asking this question yesterday. What Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens are going to be doing at WrestleMania.
Pretty obvious now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seems like they're going to be challenging RK Bro, who should be winning the tag titles. I guess one question could be, have Alpha Academy made such a good case for themselves that a Mania matchup for the the Raw tag titles between RK Bro and then Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, which seems to be teased last night, to make that a triple threat, including Gable and Otis. Yeah,
I mean they've made the case for themselves because the work that Gable and Otis have done over the last month,
it's been stellar.
Has been really good, and you have to imagine that Vince is absolutely thrilled with what they're doing right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can tell Vince loves what Gable's doing right now. It's like just back when Vince really loved what Otis was doing, but I feel like there's more there this time, you know? Yeah. It's like American Alpha is a much more well-rounded team. And
there's more dimension,
Yeah,
I mean, for weeks we were lamenting how Otis was really just one-dimensional.
Yeah, right.
And then there was a worry, it's like, okay, well, if they start introducing more comedic elements to Otis, is it going to be too much of a throwback to how he used to be? And it's still kind of... It's hard to take him seriously as this force in the ring that just destroys everybody. But they've actually managed to find a good middle ground where they reference, like he still loves meat. By him just saying ham a bunch last night during the quiz bowl. There's little references to the Otis of old that doesn't overshadow what they're still trying to do with him, Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Let's take a quick break here to get a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Several years ago, I was dealing with severe anxiety, and I learned how important it was to talk to a therapist. But I also learned that it can be really difficult to find the right person to talk to. Today, BetterHelp is providing a safe, convenient, and private online environment where your needs will be assessed, and you'll be matched with your own licensed personal therapist.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, nor is it self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. And you don't have to limit yourself to counselors in your area. BetterHelp services are available worldwide, so you can find the expertise you need regardless of location.
BetterHelp is dedicated to facilitating great therapeutic matches, all without having to sit in another uncomfortable waiting room. You can send your counselor messages whenever you want, or you can schedule regular phone or video sessions. And BetterHelp has made it free and easy to change therapists if needed.
We want you to start living a happier life today. As a Going In Raw listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/raw. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
And let's get a word from our sponsor, Chime. So, Larson.
Yes, Steve?
It's a new year, and what better way to kick off 2022 than by getting yourself a better checking account with no monthly fees?
Yeah, a fee-free 2022 sounds great, Steve. And with Chime, an award-winning app and debit card, you'll get no overdraft fees, no foreign transaction fees, no monthly fees, or service fees. You can also send money to anyone, even if they aren't on Chime. It's fee-free for you and no cash-out fees for them.
And with over 60,000 fee-free in-network ATMs, including at most Walgreens, 7-Eleven, and CVS locations, you can get your money when you need it, where you need it.
So make your first good decision of the new year and join over 10 million people using Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and does not affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/raw. That's chime.com/raw.
Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Get fee-free transactions at any MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Otherwise, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Sometimes pay anyone instant transfers can be delayed. The recipient must use a valid debit card or be a Chime member to claim funds. And before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Let's Get Checked. Hey, Larson. You're a low-energy guy, yeah?
Well, no. Sometimes. Am I? Am I a low-energy guy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Confirmed you are low-energy Larson. So did you know that fatigue, hair loss, and even a low libido can all be the result of a hormonal imbalance? It might be time to get your testosterone levels checked, friendo. And today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked, has got you covered.
Yeah, I've heard that low testosterone levels can cause fatigue, low energy, and may be linked to depression. So tell me, Steve, how do I go about getting my testosterone tested with Let's Get Checked?
Happy you asked, Larson, because it's easy and it's something you can do from the comfort of your home. You just go to their site, letsgetchecked.com, and order a test kit. Once that arrives, you do a small finger prick and send the sample to their lab, and within a few days, you'll get your results. If your results are outside the normal range, a member of Let's Get Checked's nursing team will contact you to discuss your lab report.
That sounds easy enough. I think I could do that.
It is easy and convenient, and it can hopefully help you turn from low-energy Larson into let's go get 'em Larson. Even better, our listeners will get 30% off their entire order with code RAW. Just visit letsgetchecked.com and enter code RAW at checkout to ensure you and your significant other are staying safe. The other thing that I noticed last night was I get the feeling that as soon as it's not going to be Damian Priest, it's just going to be Damian, which would accomplish two goals. It would give Damian Priest, because so AJ Styles beat him clean last night, and there was no disrespect shown towards Damian Priest, and yet just the mere fact of losing a championship contender match, which actually I believe they announced that AJ versus Priest is happening next week for the
US
title.
Yeah.
So the championship contender match motivated an actual, it did its job, which is all I really ask for. If you're going to do it this way,
Then do it.
Then do it. But he looked like the Damian started to come out a bit, and I wonder if maybe him either losing to AJ next week, the actual title, which wouldn't surprise me because Vince has always really loved AJ.
Yeah.
And he's like the go-to, if you need somebody who's stable with the title, it's him. But maybe they want to go ahead and do a heel Damian Priest. And, they love just having one name on people. So maybe he'll just ditch the Priest and just be bad guy Damian, which is what they should call him, bad guy Damian.
Yeah.
But it seemed like that might be the direction. How do you feel about him possibly losing his title next week? You think
he's the days of him as U.S. champ are definitely numbered. That seemed to be the case as soon as they kind of turned his character into this current incarnation, because he was actually really getting over, doing great work. He seemed comfortable in the role and the character he had. Then they decided to change it. Then it was like he had issues trying to explain his motivations,
effectively communicate what exactly is happening.
His character was, and it just hasn't worked. All the reactions he was getting from the crowd, poof, seemingly gone. Something no one cares about Damian Priest now from the crowd standpoint. So they got to do something. He's going to lose that belt, probably to AJ, and then we'll see. Yeah, maybe he'll turn heel. But it's a bummer that they had something that was working with him and decided on a whim, let's just do something else, and it's worked to his detriment. It's a bummer.
I wonder, I'll just try to play devil's advocate here. Sometimes I wonder if Vince doesn't quite, if creative doesn't quite know. It's like, okay, you got a guy who people seem to like well enough just by being himself, but how do I write that person into oftentimes they need the character quirks to find something to grab onto.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah, and I just wonder if it's a matter of, well, you know what, you're likable enough, but it's like it's kind of like it reminds me of Apollo Crews. Before he made his transition into who he is now, he had a really good personality. You can tell he seemed genuine. Obviously he had everything in the ring, and he came off like a guy who the people would probably respond to just by being himself. Mm-hmm. But like, where do you go from there? And I wonder if that's why they're like, hey, we need to completely revamp who you are. And granted, I understand he's not on TV a hell of a lot now, but I think that he's on TV. He's featured a lot more than he would have been had he continued the trajectory he was on, because he was like never on TV.
Yeah.
And the only time he got opportunity was when pandemic hit and people were just gone. And I wonder if that was the thing with Priest. It's like, hey, we need to turn you into a character, and this is how we're going to get there. And yeah, maybe the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing was clunky, but if they just sort of drop the Priest aspect of it, turn him into a bad guy, maybe he'll be able to get to that point where he's a bad guy and people are going to appreciate him enough to turn him back good guy like a year or two from now, if they treat it right.
I think part of the problem too with Priest in particular is that there was no story leading from one point to another.
No, there wasn't.
He was cool dude, and then he was dude with like who couldn't control his anger, seemingly overnight or in the span of a week. Mm-hmm. If they want to tell the story, they can't chop off the first third of that story they want to tell.
Yeah, they often forget about the actual
setup.
Bit.
I know.
And sometimes it works fine. Like, why was Stone Cold all of a sudden Stone Cold? I guess they did. He actually did. He dropped DiBiase, didn't he? Yeah. Like publicly.
And then there was like a process of him actually finding his voice as Stone Cold.
Quite literally, I was watching King of the Ring '96, and he sounds like a different person. Yeah. like his voice was like higher pitched when he first became Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it'll be interesting. What I really hope, and I think it's possible, I hope Priest is able to like really sink into his character if he has a definite direction for what he's going to be. Yeah. And I sometimes, if a guy is a bad guy, he gets a little bit more leeway. He has a little bit more fun with it. And maybe because he's got the look, I think he's got the promo skills.
He's a good wrestler.
I just think that he needs to understand who he is, and maybe some direction will actually help him in that regard. And maybe it'll, give creative some ideas on what to do with him. That's my hope.
Yeah, I know. It seems like We haven't really talked about these Alexa Bliss therapist vignettes much, but I feel like after these last 2 weeks, we've seen some movement.
Mm-hmm, yeah, sure.
You know, like she's like week by week.
Progress,
yeah. Like it's subtle stuff. Like week by week, she's getting away from, you know, like the in terms of how she, like the gear she was wearing for the Fiend,
right? Yeah,
Alexa Bliss. And it feels like by the time we're going to be done with these therapist sessions, it's going to be more. We're going to see more of the goddess Alexa Bliss, you know, and less of the Fiend stuff. That seems to be the direction they're heading. And while, like, I don't know if these little video packages are exactly working for me. I see what they're doing, and I can at least appreciate they're trying to tell a story with a degree of subtlety that is actually pretty rare for WB. And whether the actual content of these packages is good or not, Alexa, you give her anything, and she's going to do what she can with it. You know.
I'll be honest with you, man. I'm kind of sold on these things. What I'm trying to do is absorb them and observe them as sort of like a stage play, because that's how it's set up.
Yeah.
I do think that they would be a lot more effective had they just filmed it a little bit different with some more mood. We talked about this before. 24 frames, letterbox it, some, mood lighting.
Make it more cinematic, yeah.
That being said, the actual substance of it isn't bad. Like it's really not. Like they're playing it pretty straight. At least this week, it felt.
For the therapist saying you could get this doll at WBShop.com.
That was awesome. That was so great. I was hoping that we'd get something like that. But I liked her little story about being at the, getting cut off at the cars and then the grocery store, and like she described the lady as being like Lily. I thought it was pretty decent.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Again, I think a lot of it is presentation. If it was presented a little more cinematically, maybe it would be more effective.
Sometimes I think it would be, because it needs that. But I'm also not like a fan of theater.
Yeah, I'm not a huge theater person either.
I'm more appreciative of like cinematography as opposed to stage design and setting.
Yeah.
But that being said, I can recognize when somebody, like, I can take somebody's performance and then try to view it through that sort of cinematic lens.
Yeah.
And it would be effective. It would be much more effective.
Yeah, I think so.
If it was just that. But like, and I agree. The costuming on her has become more subtle. It's become a lot less what it was before. And I think that's probably where we're headed. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be. And if they're actually taking their time and telling the story of how she has distanced herself from Lily and all that, that's actually fairly refreshing, because years past she'd be off TV for several months and this show back up.
Yeah.
No story about how she changed her character.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like you gotta if they do something good, you gotta salute it. And I feel like
you gotta give them credit for something that we just criticized them for doing.
Exactly. They're actually telling the story of how she's transitioning into a new character or return to the old character. So
yeah, absolutely. Let's hop into it. It started with the RK Bro Alpha Academy Quiz Bowl. This is the third event of the triad of events, hosted, of course, by Kevin Patrick. And this was exactly as you'd think it was. There was a grid of topics on the Tron, and they got to choose. It was like, I think 4 for each team or something like that.
There was a grid of. There was 9 categories.
9 categories. The final score was like 5-4.
5-4, yeah.
I think it was 5-4.
5-4, yeah.
So first we got a recap, of course, of the first 2 rounds. Kevin's about to explain the rules. He gets shooshed by Gable. He explains it. So even the mouth breathers of Denver, they were in Denver, Colorado last night, can understand. And like we said, a bunch of categories with multiple choice answers. Unfortunately, no whammies in this situation, but it can't be perfect, I guess. And then the other team, if you get it wrong, they can steal your question, in the first team to 5 wins.
Yes. So Alpha Academy, since they won the last round, they get to go first. Gable chooses U.S. presidents. Question is, who is the first president to be elected while holding a college degree? And Gable says, "There's one thing I know. It's college degrees. I just got one with a 4.0. Thank you."
Thank you.
Crowd, of course, boos. And he tells them not to boo education. Then he answers correctly. The answer, did you know this one, Steve?
It was an educated guess.
It's John
I
Adams.
figured that, I figured that George Washington probably, I think he was a general by like 23 or something. So and then, I figured the first couple presidents probably didn't have college degrees. John Adams, I think, was number 4.
He was 2. He was the second president.
Oh, was he the second one?
Yep.
And then his son was like 6th, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I think I knew that.
Because it was
Quincy
Washington, Adams, Jefferson,
Madison Monroe,
and then Quincy Adams.
Yeah. What a bunch of nerds. All right. RK Bros up next. Riddle chooses biology. And the question is, how many hearts does an octopus have? Riddle says, well, my cousin's a marine biologist, and we dissected an octopus once. And he says it had 3 hearts, and that was the correct answer.
That was the correct answer. Next, Gable selects Greek mythology, and the question is, which character in Greek mythology flew too close to the sun? Of course, that's Icarus.
You know why I knew this one especially? I had heard the story before, but it was also in the movie Pi, the Aronofsky movie. It'd be like, Icarus, you fly too close to the sun,
Yeah, it's something
Max.
that's referenced a lot. A lot.
RK Bros up next. Orton selects card. This is the one I didn't know.
Oh, really?
I did not know which. I was never a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. You knew which of the weapons each of these dudes had?
Well, I didn't know that, but I knew Michelangelo had the nunchucks. Because that was,
okay.
back in like the early 90s, like nunchucks seemed like the coolest weapon. Mm-hmm. And so I do Michelangelo had that.
Oh yeah, okay. It was an Eternal. They referenced it in Eternals. That's right as well.
Oh, Icarus?
I barely paid attention to that movie. That was so boring. Chat is mentioning the Icarus thing. So that's good. They get that one right. Gable complains. He's like, "What is? We're talking about cartoons." And Orton's like, "Hey, shut up and let your partner answer the next question." So Otis picks geography, and they ask which is the largest of the continental U.S. states. This one's pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. The answer was the questions were it was Texas, California,
Florida.
No, I don't think Florida was on there. It was like Minnesota and something else. And of course, Otis got Texas correct. Mm-hmm. He says, well, if the question was what's the lowest IQ state, it would be Colorado, but the biggest is Texas.
Yeah. Next up, Riddle picks pop culture. Question is, which Baldwin is Haley Baldwin's dad?
I didn't know this one.
This
either.
is the one I didn't know.
I figured it wasn't Alec Baldwin because I think I would have known that, but I don't know anything about the other Baldwins.
Yeah, and of course she's married to Justin Bieber. So Riddle's like, "Hey, Randy, do you know this one?" He doesn't, and Riddle says, "I want to use my lifeline and call my friend Justin Bieber." And Kevin Patrick's like, "You can't do that. This isn't that game show." Orton says, "Well, all I know is Alec Baldwin, so we're going to answer that, but that's wrong." And then Gable steals. Says, this man happens to be in one of my favorite films, Biodome. It's Stephen Baldwin.
Which seems out of character, but is a hilarious reference.
It is.
So Gable says,
he
says, with all the
downtime
you're going to have, I hope you guys read a book. He picks film and literature. And the question is, which Shakespeare play has been made into the most number of films? And Otis. So I wonder if the gag here was supposed to be Otis is going to say Hamlet and Gable cuts him off. The cutoff seemed like it was too late. So it just seemed like Otis was saying ham, which I know is a good double meaning. Like he meant Hamlet, but he kept on saying ham. And I wonder if the gag was a little bit lost because I think Gable might have been. The idea is he cuts him off before Otis gets the answer right.
Maybe. I also kind of just thought it was Otis hearing ham and then going back to,
That was how it played.
Yeah.
That's how it
Which
played.
I didn't find anything wrong with it, per se.
No, I thought it was hilarious because, the weird dude who used to be obsessed with steaks and weights is now saying ham.
Yeah.
But I think he was supposed to be cut off by Gable before he was giving the right answer because of Gable's, hubris.
Yeah.
So anyways, he keeps on saying ham and Gable's like really freaking out. He's like, "Oh, I got this. And he says, he says Romeo and Juliet. And Gable freaks out. He's like, that buzzer's way too loud.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
And apparently that was a Always Sunny reference, according to somebody in chat.
Then Riddle answers Hamlet. That is the correct answer. RK Bro, they pick. Orton says, let's do sports. The question is, which quarterback has the most wins in Broncos history? Orton polls the crowd, says, I need a little help from you all here in Denver.
And he does it with such an enthusiasm. Orton's having more fun here than anybody.
I know. And, of course, it's John Elway. He was the Broncos quarterback forever. Of course, he has the most wins. So it's the tied 4-4. Final category is metric conversions. So if American Alpha get this, they win. So the question is, how many grams are in an ounce? And Gable is actually, he's like really nervous now. He's worried about the buzzer. He's trying to make the conversion in his head. He waffles on his answer. Ultimately, he says 12. That's wrong. And Riddle says, I was calibrating my scale. And Orton goes, no, I got this. And Riddle says, well, how do you know? And Orton says, do you think I'm the only one here that bakes? Mm-hmm. Says there are exactly 28 grams in an ounce. That is the correct answer. They win.
Yeah. Gable demands a new question. Riddle shooshes him. Says you just got outsmarted by the three most dangerous letters in sports entertainment. Orton says, RK bro. Gable blames the crowd for the loss. He yells that the buzzer's too loud, and it keeps on buzzing.
He just collapses to the floor.
He collapses to the floor. This was a wildly entertaining
segment. It really was. Then Street Profits come out, and they just kind of tease American Alpha for losing. Gable rolls out of the ring, and he says, I got a question for you guys. What team is about to get their asses kicked by American Alpha tonight? And Ford says, that's a challenge. We accept. That match happens. And this is like the first commercial break. So they advertise the first hour of Raw and Sci-Fi was going to be commercial free. That was almost correct. However, they did run commercials. It was just all commercials for WWE stuff. It was either replays of segments, commercial for like WWE Shop, commercials for SmackDown, the SmackDown Breakdown. So they still had commercial breaks, just even it wasn't paid advertising during these breaks.
I wonder internally. Obviously they don't consider these commercials because they're not like getting paid for them. But to the viewer, they definitely come off as commercials. But I like to think of them as reminders of their great products and programming. Anyways, Alpha Academy here gets the win. Gable reverses Silencer into an ankle lock, rolls up Dawkins for the win.
Mm-hmm. Then we had a Lita video package. And then we had the gameplay trailer for WWE 2K22, and then it went to like a montage of the top 10 Instagram photos of WWE wrestlers and personalities.
Well, they still have to fill all that time that they usually devote to commercials.
But after the Quiz Bowl, it made sense. They had to break down that set, get the ring ready for the match. So I understand why they had to kind of put some filler in there to get the ring ready. Then MVP comes out, introduces Bobby Lashley. Lashley is from the Denver area, I believe. Really awesome homecoming for Lashley as WWE champion. So MVP says, Lashley comes to the ring. MVP says last week they should have their celebration after he beat Brock. He says that he knows that some people are saying that Lashley only won because Roman got involved, but Brock would have done the same thing. The only thing that matters is that Lashley pinned Brock and stood victorious. Last week they should have had their ticker tape parade, and it should be popping bottles of champagne. It should have been declared Bobby Lashley Day, but instead what they got is Adam Pearce telling Lashley how to defend his title in the Elimination Chamber against 5 other superstars. He says, which brings us back to Brock. He won the Rumble match, an impressive feat. Brock earned his match against Roman at WrestleMania. But Brock entering the chamber and taking Lashley's title to make it title for title at WrestleMania, pure fantasy. It'll never happen.
Fiction. Never happen.
He says Lashley will leave the Elimination Chamber still WWE champ. MVP then puts over all the other chamber participants. Says they're all stellar superstars, but they're men. Lashley and Brock are monsters. And Lashley is the biggest and baddest monster of them all.
So Lashley takes the mic. He says Brock disrespected him for the last time. He says he came to Raw with his MMA gloves on trying to demand a rematch, but you don't make demands of the almighty. He says Brock came in and demanded everything that he never worked for. He says, when was the last time Brock even had a match on Raw? So I'm not going to be disrespected. That's why I hope it comes down to me and Brock in the chamber, just so I can pin him again. He says it's not him locked in the chamber with Brock. It's going to be Brock locked in the chamber with Bobby Lashley. When Brock wakes up in the hospital, scared by the sound. He sort of mumbled over his words here.
Yeah.
He said, scared by the sound of Lashley, the so-called beast can challenge for the Universal title at Mania, while he'll be defending his title in the main event of WrestleMania. There does seem to be quite a bit of confusion as to what title is going to main event WrestleMania, because even if Bobby keeps his title, Roman is still going to be the main event.
So in the course of Raw last night, I believe,
I guess you can hope.
Lashley said that he was going to main event.
What a peaceful look he has on his face.
Oh, I'm frozen. I just realized this now.
There
we go. I'm back now, I think.
You're back.
I will keep going. During the course of the show, I believe both Lashley and at least Liv Morgan, they both said if they won matches at Elimination Chamber, then they will be main eventing WrestleMania.
Wait, what?
Liv said during her promo before her match with Doudrop that after she wins the Chamber match at Elimination Chamber, then she would main event WrestleMania against Becky Lynch.
Yeah, everybody thinks they're going to be main eventing. Like Ronda and Charlotte's going to main event night one.
Seems to be the case, yeah.
And Roman versus
Brock. It'll be Brock.
Brock, regardless of the title, is going to be main eventing night two.
Yeah.
So people need to stop talking about that.
Yeah. So we get a Alexa therapy session. She's got the pink streaks back in her hair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She got like double ponytails going. Therapist says, I want to prove to you that you don't need to be near Lily. And so, this is a recap from last week, I think. And then she hands it over, the replica of Lily, and she begins to cry. Then we get AJ Styles versus Damian Priest. This is a really fun match. The setup to that finish was great. So Priest sends AJ to the apron. AJ punches Priest. He's looking for a phenomenal forearm, but instead Priest hits him with the forearm, and he goes to run the ropes, like maybe hit him with a kick or something. When Priest is rebounding off the ropes, AJ hits a phenomenal forearm. The timing was basically impeccable. It was great.
It was awesome. Yeah, AJ picks up a clean win, and then you see, like, as Damian Priest stews in the corner, you can start to see hints of the Damian coming out. So I expect that just to be his full. It's like when the Hulk was just Hulk, and there was no more.
Yeah, there's no banner anymore.
Yeah. That was in Ragnarok. You should check that movie out. It's great.
I've seen, I don't know, the first third of it.
After that, we had Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins backstage.
Oh, my gosh.
Seth had this iridescent tracksuit.
Amazing.
And it was beautiful. Honestly, like I've noticed so many people now, they seem to be taking inspiration from the variety of materials they offer in the 2K games, because I know, like, Riddle had a glittery jacket and trunks on, and then Owens had this iridescence on. Man, it was great.
Becky on her gear last night had some iridescent paneling down her shoulders.
They need the glow material. Naomi's got to find some glow material.
True.
So anyways, he says, I know, so Kevin Owens is there with him. He says, I know you're ready for your match tonight. I'm bummed out, though, that you're not going to be in the chamber with me. And Kevin Owens says, don't be sad. He says, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to let you in on a secret. So that's like, oh, I love secrets. He says, with your influence and support and my determination and popularity, I'm very popular. He says, I have a feeling that after I beat Theory tonight, Pierce and Sonya have no choice but to put me in the chamber match with you. And Seth's like, oh, I don't know. I don't make the rules, but I like your enthusiasm. Trying to be as polite as possible because this is an asinine theory.
Yeah.
And he says, I got your back. And Kevin Owens says, he's like, you're right. Like, you have my back, right? And you're not lying to me. And Seth just laughs. Kevin doesn't see the humor in it. He says, I'm a lot of things, but a liar isn't one of them. And then he just laughs his way out of the camera shot.
Yeah. Then we had Miz TV with Dominic and Rey Mysterio. So before Miz introduces his guest for the night, he tells the crowd, get on their feet, show Maurice some respect for her performance at the Royal Rumble. And he says,
this was like the long, sorry, not to cut you off. This is like the weird, like, there was really no point to this segment beyond like setting up a match between Dom and Miz, where Dom actually gets the rematch where Dom gets a win back.
I know.
But otherwise, it's funny because he was like, do you even know why you're out here? And he's like, no. And Miz is like, I feel like I sense there was hard feelings after last week, and I wanted to clear the air. Yeah. So he throws to a video of what happened last week. he was like, I see that and I see nothing wrong. And Ray's like, yeah, winning with underhanded tactics. And Miz is like, are you calling me a cheater? And the crowd calls Miz a cheater, and he has a back and forth with the crowd. He's like, Edge and Beth are cheaters because Beth punched and kicked me. He says, when Ray or Edge or Beth or Eddie use an underhanded tactic, he mentions Eddie, he says they're cheered, but when I do it, I get booed. I'm called a cheater. So I'm not a cheater. I outsmarted you, Dom. He says, I'll give you some advice. I've been here a long time. If you step in the ring with me, you know what you're getting. And if you lose, that's your fault. He says, if anyone was cheated out of anything, I was cheated out of a chamber match. But who got that opportunity? Rey Mysterio. Even though I've been on a tear since winning Money in the Bank. And Ray's like, yeah, you cheated to win that. He was like, well, I beat Drew when he was unbeatable. And Ray's like, yeah, with Lashley's help. And he says, well, I became WWE champ. Biggest star in this company. I was on Dancing with the Stars. Blah, blah, blah. And but is my face on the posters? The trucks, the cover of 2K22? He was like, no, but whose is? Ray's. And Miz asked Ray, what do you have that I don't have? That Maurice doesn't have. She should be on the cover of 2K22, which would be great, by the way.
Yeah, it would be great.
Maurice says, Ray could learn a thing or two from me. She says, you should call yourself Ray Mysterio.
Oh, that was clever.
Which doesn't have a great ring to it.
No, but she got through it. She got, I would stumble over that 10 times before getting out.
It was smooth, wasn't it? Yeah.
In any way, clearly. And she got it right the first time.
Yeah, Ray says, oh, that's good, but I'm good. I don't need that. And Miz says, I'm just asking for a little bit of respect. Where's my appreciation, my cheers? And Dom says, exactly. He's like, where's his respect? How about you show my dad some respect? And Miz is like, whoa. He was like, is that how you do it now, Ray? You hide behind your son? He's like, Dom, if you want a rematch, he says, you want a rematch? And Dom accepts. And Miz looks up and down Dom, and he's like, you are a lot taller than Ray. Are you sure you're not Eddie's son? And then Dom keeps Ray from attacking Miz, and instead Dom pushes Miz, and Miz rolls out of the ring. So just to clarify, in kayfabe, Eddie is actually Dom's dad.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, just double check.
That's my understanding.
Just double check. Yeah,
that's my understanding. Then after a picture-in-picture commercial break, which saw Miz going around the ring just trying to get as much heat from the crowd as he could, we come back. We have the match. Maurice trips up Dom, and the ref sees it, and he throws her out of the ringside area. But while the ref is arguing with her, Ray trips up Miz, and Miz leans through the ropes and is trying to get his hands on Ray, and then Dom rolls him up to get the win.
Yeah, sorry. Mr. Sinister here calls it right in chat. He says, technically not his dad, his papi essay. After that, we see a shot of Vince talking to Austin Theory in his office.
He wasn't holding a pencil point at the eraser, though. Still don't know what that means.
I don't know, man. I think it's like I don't know. Not going to try to get in Vince's head. After that, we had Bianca Belair versus Nikki Ash, ASH. I thought that they told a pretty simple story here. Nikki was working over Bianca's leg, and she had a hard time in the end getting her up for it, but eventually she hit the KOD for the win.
Then we're backstage. R-Truth, Tozawa, and Tamina are running around backstage looking for Dana and Reggie. So they run off frame, and then Dana and Reggie, I believe, are hiding behind some road cases. Dana says, hey, thanks for helping me out. You've helped me become a better champion, and gives Reggie a kiss on the cheek. And Reggie's like, okay, what does this all mean? And she says, oh, we're really good friends, and I hope that never changes. And they hear Truth and Tozawa and Tamina run back towards them. They kind of had a moment where it seems like they might actually kiss each other, but then they end up having to run off.
That's got to be a Mania moment. You got to pay this off at Mania with a big old kiss. Although I know this term, I remember this term used to be a very, it wasn't taken so seriously, but I think some people sort of convoluted it, and now it's like a term you're not supposed to use. But Corey Graves says, oh, poor Reggie, he's in the friend zone.
Yeah, he did say that.
But I think these days you're not supposed to say that term. It was always a fairly innocuous term back in the day, though. Just meant, oh, I like her, but she didn't see me that way.
Then we got Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory next. This is another really good match between these two guys. At one point, Theory is trying to do the spot against Owens where he slams him back and head first against the ring steps. Owens evades that. He throws Theory into the ring steps, hits a cannonball off the steps. Raw rolls on.
Oh wow! Look at this. White Brownie's got the ratings here. Obviously, being on Sci-Fi,
opposite the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. $1.387 million. $1,387,000.
I honestly thought it might be a little bit lower than that. Moving to a different channel.
Kind of probably figure. I might have thought that it might have gotten down to like a 1.2 maybe.
That's what I thought.
That was like the worst.
Too.
Yeah.
In the end, though, Kevin Owens gets the win. Finish was pretty cool. So Owens going for a swanton. Theory gets his knees up. He's looking for his rolling drop kick. Instead, he rolls right into a super kick from Kevin Owens, and he follows with a stunner for the win. And then later on, he's going to go lobby Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville to try to get himself in that chamber match. But first, RK Bro is backstage. And Riddle's like, he's looking forward. He's like, hey, we're going to fight for the tag title soon. He's really excited about that. And Orton goes, hold on, don't get ahead of yourself. You got a shot at the WWE title at Elimination Chamber. And take it from me, I've been in a handful of those matches, and it's unforgiving. But if you walk out of that structure with a title around your waist, you're going to walk into, here it is, the main event at WrestleMania as WWE Champion. 3 times it's mentioned. Says, but before you even think about any of that, you got to focus on tonight when you face Seth Rollins. You do not want to take him lightly. He'll do whatever it takes to pick up that W. All you have to do right now is focus on Rollins. And Riddle goes, got it, leaves. 5 seconds later, he walks back into frame. Says, if I win that chamber and win the WWE title and we win the tag titles back, I'll be a double champion. Randy, you'll be a tag champion. And hey, I was thinking of throwing an RK Broga party next week. And Randy just goes, just focus on Seth tonight. Riddle says, okay, walks on.
Riddle cannot focus. No. And then it was announced later on, we're getting that toga party next week. That should be pretty fun.
That should be fun.
Because, Alpha Academy is going to try to interrupt it, and we're going to see Otis in a toga. After that, we got a promo. Veer is still coming. After that, we had a Lita comes out. Man, I don't know what she's like in terms of like physically being able to do that, the WWE schedule, even a part-time one. It'd be awesome if she came back for a run, though.
It'd be pretty
cool.
An
actual run.
It would be pretty cool.
So she said, I had no idea I'd be on Raw a couple weeks ago, but after being in the Rumble with some of the top stars, I started to feel like I was home again. And the crowd is loving Lita. Everybody loves Lita. She says, I was in there with Charlotte, Ronda, Bianca, Rhea. She says, but there was one person who was absent from the Rumble who's the top of her game, went for broke, and issued a challenge for Becky. She says, we go back a long way. I've wanted this match for a long time. That brings out Becky Lynch.
She comes out. She says, hey, ask the crowd how incredible it is to hear Lita say such incredible things about me. Says it's one thing to come out and prove night after night that I'm the best, but it means so much. So much so that Ronnie's running scared, but it's another story to come out and hear it from your teenage idol. Becky continues. She says, last week, Lita, you came out and issued a challenge. And initially, I said no, and I want to explain why. It says, growing up, I worshipped you. You showed me that anything was possible in WWE. And when I showed up here, a lot of people turned up my nose at me, but you didn't. You weren't one of them. And she says that she saw something in Becky and supported her, and for that, she's grateful. That felt very genuine. She says, without Lita, there would be no Becky Lynch. But then she turns serious. But now that there is a Becky Lynch, there can be no Lita. Lita, do you understand how hurtful it is to have the one person you looked up to more than anyone else try to take everything away from me? This title is the most important thing in my life. I've gotten rid of everything to get what I have. I've gotten rid of friends. No problem. I've gotten rid of all the people, the fans. No problem. And I will get rid of you, no problem. I'm in the prime of my career. I've beaten everyone who's gotten in my way. Lita, you may have helped bring me up, but I have no problem putting you down.
Yeah, and Lita says, Becky, you speak the truth. You're at the top of your game. You're the odds-on favorite, and that's why I'm here. She says, I have no problem being the underdog. I was just some punk rock kid who went out and chased her dreams, but it was the fans that helped me become a 4-time women's champion. It was them who chanted my name and helped me live my dreams. So while it may be true that I haven't had a title shot in 15 years, there's something that hasn't changed. The WWE still supports me to this day. So as long as we're here, there's still Lita. But what Becky has to get okay with is how she feels when Lita walks out 5 times. When I walk out, 5-time women's champ. Becky says she'll leave Lita with the people because that's all you're going to have. She turns around to leave. turns around again, tries to sucker punch Lita. Lita catches it, looks for a twist of fate. Becky escapes that, puts some stomps on Lita, holds up the title, starts to leave, gets back in the ring, looks for a manhandle slam. Lita elbows her way out, hits a twist of fate, and Becky sells the shit out of it. And then she follows that up with an awesome moonsault. So yeah, this should be a killer match.
It should be really good
at Elimination Chamber.
It should be really good. Then we get Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville backstage. Sonya's got her arm in a sling, selling Ronda Rousey, putting in the arm bar on Friday. Owens walks in, and he's like, "Oh, just the two people I wanted to see." He says, "You both look great. Strong suit game. Well, maybe not so much you, Adam Pearce." He says, I want to double check with you. You know, I know you saw my win against Theory, and I assume that means I'm in the chamber match now." And Adam Pearce says, "No." Sonya says, "The qualifiers that took place last week are final." And Kevin Owens says, "You got to be kidding me." He says, "I'm nothing but genuine and honest, and you're going to deprive the WWE Universe of me winning the me winning in the chamber so I can walk into WrestleMania to defend the WWE title against my best friend." And Adam Pearce just says, "Yes." And Sonya says, "I got to be honest with you, Kevin Owens, you might not be at WrestleMania at all." And
Kevin Owens, he freaks out about that.
Yeah.
He starts talking about how much Texas means to him. "I love Texas. I won the Universal title in Texas, et cetera, et cetera." He's like, "Got to be at Mania." He's like, you might think that I'm lying, but I'm not. I need this. Please think about it.
Yeah. Then we got Liv Morgan versus Doudrop. Both of them had promos beforehand. Liv was talking about how hard she took not winning the title from Becky. Says it almost broke her, but now she's got a chance to break 5 other competitors in Elimination Chamber, and she'll move on to the main event of WrestleMania. Doudrop says, "When I came here, I realized I was too passive, too nice. Nice doesn't get you anywhere in WWE. Now, then I learned to get nasty, and now I'm going to splatter every other woman on the roster, including Liv."
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what she did. She dominated this match early and then won at the end.
Yeah, with a Vader bomb.
Yep.
Yeah. No, this is fun stuff. But I love how they're booking Doudrop. Man. After that, we had Alexa's therapy session continued. She talked about. They're talking about the progress that she's made, and she talks about controlling her anger after being cut off by a car, and like another one. She said she went to the mall afterwards. Somebody took her parking spot, but again, she was able to control her anger. Is this the one she did? Was there one after this? No, this is it. And she talks about being in line at the supermarket and somebody cutting. She's like in a 30-minute line. Somebody cuts in front of her. And she's that person. He was like, "Could you describe her?" And she basically describes Lily.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and says that she threw her down the aisle and then hit her with a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, she controlled her anger.
Yeah.
Then we got a Seth Rollins interview. He says nothing against the other competitors in the chamber match, but they are simply not Seth Rollins. He says, "My resume speaks for itself, but the one thing that I have not done is headline WrestleMania as WWE champion. That changes this year. It's my time. It's my year. I don't give a damn who you are because you're not me, Seth frickin' Rollins."
After that, we had Seth Rollins versus Riddle. Was not very long, though, because it morphed into a second match. Basically, Kevin Owens comes out and attacks Riddle. So Seth got DQ'd. Orton comes out to make the save. He hits Kevin Owens with an RKO. Seth and Randy just start yelling at each other. Raw rolls on, and we got a tag match, RK Bro versus Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens.
This was great. So Seth was carrying the load early on, and he goes to...
Yeah.
So he goes out to the floor, and he's like, "Kevin Owens, get on the apron. I need to tag you in." And Kevin Owens is like, "I just got hit with an RKO a little bit ago."
He slaps him on the arm. He's like, "Man, get it together." He's like, "Ow, I just got hit with an RKO."
Yeah, it was pretty great.
That was pretty funny.
It was great. So Randy hits Seth with the belly to back on the announce table. Riddle gets tagged in. And then Owens and Seth proceed to isolate Riddle for a good 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. So eventually, though, Seth misses a frog splash. He tags in Owens. He tries to keep Riddle from tagging in Orton. He can't do it. Orton and Seth get tagged in. Orton goes on a run, hits Seth with a draping DDT. He's looking for the RKO. Seth blocks it, ends up pushing Randy to his own corner. Riddle tags in. He hits Kevin Owens with a knee, hits Seth with a couple kicks. He's looking for a ripcord knee. Seth counters that with some forearms, follows with a stomp for the win. Mm-hmm. So then Seth walks out. And then after he walks out, Orton hits Owens with an RKO, and he rolls to the floor. So Seth looks, sees what happens, just laughs, and continues walking up the ramp.
Do we have this wrong? Is it going to be Seth versus Kevin Owens because of what just happened last night?
It could be.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. Anyways, let's go ahead and answer some questions.
Sure.
First up, I got a list here on the Patreon. Dave Matushek, what's the remote possibility of Otis going back to the way he used to be and turning against Chad Gable in the future? I honestly think that WWE saw Otis as not having much of a ceiling the way he was, so I would be kind of surprised if he went back to it.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, it would be an odd choice, but we've probably seen other things at WWE where they take a comedic character, make him more serious, and then ultimately just go back to the same comedic gimmick that apparently they didn't think worked in the first place.
I would suggest that when all is said and done with Otis and his WWE career, when he comes back for like Raw reunion episodes, it'll probably be as that version of Otis.
Yeah. White Brownie, do you guys think the new trademark that would be filed is next month premium live event? It was Sunday Stunner or something like that.
Sunday Stunner.
I don't believe they don't have anything scheduled for next month. I don't believe in March because, I mean, they've done short windows to WrestleMania in the past, but I don't know. I kind of feel like after Elimination Chamber, there might not be another pay-per-view premium live event till Mania.
There shouldn't be. But
No, there
it
shouldn't
wouldn't
be.
shock me. Like we'll probably hear in a couple of days.
Oh, Die Hard Homer has a good idea for a future Raw view. Have you thought of doing the final Nitro alongside the Raw from that night? That would be interesting.
I have thought about doing it. I think it'd be a great idea. We're doing this. We're bringing back, or we're gonna do a going in Raw view of Summer. I'm sorry, I keep on calling it SummerSlam. Survivor Series 2002 was the very first Elimination Chamber match, and then what I'd like to do is you come with a suggestion for the next one. I think we used to do this. I come with a suggestion.
I think so.
I pulled the friendos over at YouTube in the community tab to see if there's sort of like any suggestions that stand out, and then we'll let our patrons vote on
What the next one will
what
be.
we do next. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. And then I'm going to be posting a questions thread for Survivor Series 2002 on our Patreon.
Cool.
Coming up very shortly.
I missed this earlier, but Stonewall?
Stonewall KODM.
there we
which
go.
might mean King of the Deathmatch.
There
maybe?
we go.
Rated us?
With the raid. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Eddie Brock's Venom says, who do you think out of the Street Profits are going to turn on the other? Because he says he noticed that Montez been growing out his hair. Dawkins been eating a lot of pins lately.
I would think...
I would love to see Montez as a bad solo guy.
Yeah.
As a heel. I think that'd be wonderful. So I would like to see Montez turn on Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah. Ryan's Rubik's Cube. If WWE were to book a halftime show match this year for the Superb Owl, what would you want them to book? Empty arena.
Okay.
How
about
great?
this? Yeah, go ahead.
It'd be great if you did Roman Brock. Don't need it at WrestleMania. Do empty arena halftime heat.
Oh wow.
Falls count
Don't need
anywhere.
a WrestleMania. Yeah.
And just make it like a real physical, brutal match. That's what they should do. Don't do it at WrestleMania.
They should definitely do it at WrestleMania. It's a big, giant money match. In that scenario, what would you then book for the main event of WrestleMania?
So of course Roman would win halftime heat, empty arena.
Yeah.
And then you do Big E versus Roman at Mania. Big E goes over.
There you go.
The
I
main
like
event.
it. I like your enthusiasm. That's a good idea. I would go with halftime heat. Impact champion Mickie James versus WWE champion Becky Lynch.
All right.
That's what I would do.
Good.
Let's see here. El Gorilla Baby says, any chance on the Friendos getting any the targeted gear this year? Well, that'd be an NX Steve thing. I'd have to hit up the owners of the NX Steve license for the targeted. What's that?
That's just, well, I mean, actually, to be fair, that property existed prior to NX Steve. That's.
I guess maybe it's technically targeted as property of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I think so.
Because all that machinima stuff. But I wonder if the thing is Warner Brothers, because they scrubbed all that stuff, Warner Brothers doesn't even probably know that they have that property.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. Possible. Maybe I'll make some bootleg targeted now that it's property Warner Brothers. I'll make some bootleg targeted merchandise.
There you go. Do like an all over print shirt, but it's just it's the logo, and then you could have a whole cutout like right here on the chest.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, White Brownie has a good point. He says just go to your local Target. All you got to do is go get a bag, like just buy something at Target, get a bag, and then cut some eye holes, and you have a targeted mask. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Alex Foster. If you guys had to team up with a wrestler to take on each other in a quiz bowl, who would you get and what category would you be the best at? If Star Trek was a category, I would dump
you and Cody.
That. Me and oh man, that's right. He's a big Star Trek nerd. Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about you?
I do pretty good with movies, music.
Yeah, sure.
Sports.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be all right with history.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Give me something more niche than all those, though. Because Star Trek's a pretty specific thing.
All right. Oh, me and Big E Seinfeld trivia.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's perfect. That's really good. Let's see here. Mondo asks, what do you think the chances are that both the men and women's titles are unified at WrestleMania? I feel like Roman and Brock, I mean, it's going to be title versus title. I guess it technically wouldn't be unification. Like Becky's, that the winner takes all wasn't unification.
No,
she just had the two
she
titles.
defended the individual titles, yeah.
Yeah.
Don Wagner here says, the amount of you both misspoke and said American Alpha instead of Alpha Academy, and flip-flopping doing it gave me a good laugh this episode. Didn't even notice.
American Alpha, I know. I say that shit. I almost never say Alpha Academy. I don't think I say that. I say American Alpha. That's funny.
Riley Black, with how massive the AEW roster is, more people eventually joining, do you think Elevation and Dark should be used more effectively? Should Tony consider hiring more backstage managers to manage what talent are doing and help rotating them periodically on Rampage and Dynamite? You know, I think the role that Elevation and Dark serve for main roster AEW wrestlers, they go there and pad their win totals, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something they don't have the time to do on Dynamite and Rampage.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of Dark and Elevation because I don't have the time, but I feel like they're utilizing Elevation and Dark just about as effectively as they can in terms of building up win-loss records, bringing in new talent on like a tryout basis, signing some of those people, having them on a weekly basis, and then telling some stories on there to keep viewers engaged, so it's just not a series of squash matches. You know, considering that it's a YouTube exclusive show, I don't know how much more efficiently they could utilize that.
They could make them shorter. I every week I check them out, and sometimes when they're like 30 minutes long, they're like, okay, last week's was 43 minutes long. It was Elevation.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect. It was like, okay, 43 minutes. And then I turned on Dark because I was watching all the stuff on Tuesday. And I turned on Dark, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And like 30 minutes deep, I was like, man, this is just monotonous. It's just 7-minute match after 7-minute match after 7-minute match. And they were not really doing a hell of a lot with it. It's really hit or miss with what they do. And I feel like they probably just don't have the time to schedule out, or maybe he should delegate, somebody to actually tell some stories with their developmental talent. But yeah, I think they could use that time a little bit better. Like you said, it provides a function, pad stats, and develop the younger talent, and I get that. But I do feel like that time could be used a tad more effectively.
Yeah, I guess more efficiency and more consistency with the amount of time that you're gonna have to dedicate to those shows. That's a fair point.
I feel like if both episodes were like 45 minutes long, and they each had at least a couple. I mean, I understand you want to pad stats and you want to develop talent. Have like the Janela Sunny Kiss stuff. You know, that was a story that was running through it. But I think so. I think more of that kind of stuff would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, agreed. Yeah. Dan Daniels III, pick your fantasy team Quizzlemania with you against 3 other tag teams. We never got our chance against the Good Brothers.
No, we didn't.
We are technically still interim champions.
I think they stopped referring to us as that after a while. I feel like we were champions. We had one successful defense.
We did.
I was totally fine with that. Me and Alex put up a good fight.
You did. You both did. That's for sure.
I'm good. I'm good with that. Your fantasy team Quizzlemania with you against 3 other tag teams. Man, I like when it's all just people that, like, Luke and Ollie, Alex and Kayla. I just like hanging out with people that I'm friendly with.
That's true.
Let's see here. Nick Kyle says, once Damian Priest loses his U.S. title, what should he be doing next?
Probably if he's just Damian at that point, he should probably just start winning matches, I would hope. Yeah. I mean, he's got to get some wins eventually. He hasn't won a match in a long time.
Yeah.
After being undefeated.
Start a huge feud with Veer when Veer finally comes. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Let's see here. Moses supposes if we could have one Raw superstar be the Forbidden Door debut on Dynamite, who would it be?
One Raw superstar?
One Raw superstar. It would be Finn Balor.
Let's say Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that's good. He's doing really good work right now.
He is, but imagine him in AEW either feuding with or aligning with Adam Cole, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that'd be cool. That'd be good. He made his choice, though.
He did.
Anyways, that's going to do it for us, everybody, for today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. I mentioned this in case you are an avid viewer or follower over at twitch.tv/MFSteve here. No stream tonight. It's Alabama's birthday, so we're doing a little thing for her. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.